Hey guys, welcome to my Holy Roman Empire Build Order, the Ultimate Guide Part 2. In this guide, we'll be going through how to play against feudally aggressive civilizations, specifically the English. Their longbowman is feared, and I'll be showing you how to prepare appropriately for it. And it's much different than a fast castle. We set aside those ambitions. So if you're ready, take a look at the build order, the benchmarks, and play alongside with me. And even if you don't get everything perfectly, it's fine. Just practice makes perfect, have fun with it, and do your best. All right, let's go. This is a playthrough of something I did earlier today that I played against the AI, and I can now explain to you what I'm doing there. All right, 5 villagers are going to go on sheep, and we're going to be sending our scout out to find sheep in a semicircle around our base. The map is King of the Hill. Wood is scarce here, and wood and gold is not always together. When it's not, Minework Palace may be better. The prelate is trained and will be inspiring the 5 villagers that are gathering food right next to him. And our first starting villager goes to make a lumber camp and will be slowly gathering a little bit of lumber. The first new villager that is trained goes to make a mining camp and a house. First we make a house. The house will be at 2 space distance from the town center, in order to leave space for farmland to be created in between the house and the town center. Once we've gone about halfway according to the map, we bring back the sheep that we have, we go to the other side, we check the terrain and the sheep there, go equally far, and by no later than 3 minutes should we head towards the opponent to check out the timings of their council hall, see if they're gathering any stone, and so on and so forth. And I'll explain more about that later. It is possible to do this build with a second scout. You'll have more information, you'll also find more than your fair share of the sheep, as opposed to your opponent, but it also means you'll have a little bit slower economy. You can do either one. I've gone with a single scout opener here. Now on King of the Hill, you're going to have some terrain blockers, but because the maps are kind of randomized, sometimes you'll have a lot of area to cover if you want to make little palisade walls here, and sometimes you'll have more space to cover. Try to adapt to the situation. The build is 5 on food, 1 on wood, and then the next 4 on gold. If you can give gold villagers an inspire bonus as they go on their way, that's a bonus. Otherwise, as soon as you have 4 villagers on gold, send your prelate there for a bit and make sure that he goes to inspire them. Never interrupt your prelate mid-inspire as he can get bugged, though hopefully that's going to get fixed very soon in a bug fix and this will not be relevant anymore. At 4 villagers on gold, I send my prelate there. After the 5-1-4 split, every villager goes to wood and I'll start gathering up more wood. Note that this is not the fastest possible feudal timing. However, it does give us a really nice portion of lumber to work with, and this wood can be used to do palisade walls, outposts, stable and archery range. And that's what we'll be doing. I send my sheep to rally on top of the lumber camp so that they get a bonus speed boost, then on the town center. Once they get near the town center, I can sidle them up closer to the town center for efficiency. At 2:45, I have enough resources for an Aachen chapel, and because it can cover both my wood and my gold, I decide to go with the Aachen chapel landmark as opposed to the Minework Palace. The economy boost that I get from it is likely worth more than what Minework Palace can save me, and although I will need to make a blacksmith later in order to train upgrades for my units, that blacksmith doesn't need to come out that early, as upgrades aren't worth that much when you don't have that many units yet. First we'll focus on getting some units out and we can fit in a blacksmith later. It's time for a second house. We're going to put our prelate for a little bit on the wood, and that wood will be helping us to make a stable and a range as quickly as feudal landmark is reached. From the 4 villagers on gold, I had pulled 3 to build the landmark and 1 from wood as well. No later than before 4 minutes do we need to start making palisade walls as well. We don't have to do a full wall off, but we want to create a funnel point for an opponent to push through. If you prefer, you can go for the full wall off. You have more palisade walls to cover, and they'll try to break through at a certain point. It's up to your preference. Try to experiment with both. With our scout near him, we'll be looking at council hall timing. When the council hall finishes, or when we predict it to finish, we can know that the first longbowman can be coming out. And once it does finish, we want to check the council hall to see how many longbows indeed are coming out. Typically, it's non-stop production as best as they can. But it is also possible that they start gathering stone, which we just scouted, and that can mean one of two things. A second town center or a stone wall, stone tower rush. These are really scary and need to be stopped early or you can't stop it anymore. The moment we reach feudal age, which was around 4:30 minute mark, we make a stable first and then an archery range as lumber permits. We also still have some villagers on gold, and this is technically not required anymore. We're not looking to make any gold investments anytime soon. Neither units that we're planning to make cost gold, and we don't have any upgrades that we want to make yet. However, having the 160 gold is fine as it gives us options to train various different things. We could go with the wheelbarrow upgrade if we want to invest a bit more in economy while making some counter units, or we could save it for the first blacksmith upgrade. Having it is technically inefficient. A full wood food economy would give us the most units, but we don't want to focus entirely necessarily on all-inning him. I'm now role-playing that he has longbows on the high ground of this cliff, harassing my wood villagers, as this is a kind of a bad map spawn for me. Rather than always focusing on the ideal outcome and the most efficient build order path, I'm pulling back the villagers, pretending I am getting harassed, and cutting down some of the trees near my town center. Meanwhile, I'm making several horsemen and archers. Theoretically now, my scout is checking the flood of his units towards me. Is it only longbows? And is there a finite number, or is it infinite? Does he make 5 and then harass and stop and then develop his economy behind it? Or is he going for 10 longbowmen, or even non-stop? Are those longbowmen accompanied by spears or not? We have a few horsemen, but we don't really want to overcommit to horsemen unless we have more information. I have 3 now, making a 4th, and that's where I'm going to stop in this game. But it is possible to keep making them if he's not adding any spears. If he's the kind of guy that goes for 15 longbows and an aggressive tower, every horseman will be useful. And we'll be using horses to tank damage and deal a lot of damage, and archers to gain a dimension of range as well. Try to hide your units for as long as possible in order to catch the longbowmen by surprise. The horses are a lot faster than the archers, than the longbowmen, and archers are a little bit faster than longbowmen. So if you kite and aggress and chase well, you can kill many of them, and this gives you the space to head to Castle H. As soon as you've crushed the longbowman force once, that's where you heavily reprioritize your economy into food and gold. You can pull some from wood, but don't pull all of them from wood. Pulling all from wood is a kind of go broke kind of method that has you get Castle Age fast, but you'll experience a large dip in your ability to produce units and make unit producing structures. So I do like to keep some on wood. Where the fast castle opening uses 2 to 4 wood villagers, practically nothing, and you're trying to rush out the super fastest castle, fast prelates, pick up relics and so on, this is an ideal utopian kind of opening that gets more and more punished by various civilizations. So I'm still role-playing that I'm in some kind of battle with him. I've eked out my space on the map, we've had a fight, we've both lost units, and now I'm securing my Aachen Chapel wood line again with an outpost on the high ground. That outpost doesn't have any stone emplacement, so I need to have villagers in order to man it, in order to protect that area. So I'm putting a mill down there in order to get some food from the berries. Meanwhile, I've started slowly putting more villagers on gold again, because the current economy pretty much supports the production from the stable and the archery range. So it isn't that I'm having to pull everyone away from wood and food in order to get gold. It's that I've gotten to the point where I have enough villagers in order to also be able to slowly develop my way to a hypothetical castle age. As long as you're both slowing each other down with feudal aggression, you don't have any rush to make it to castle that fast. And the little skirmish here with AI, of course it will be much more heavily contested with a player, but it is indicative of the kind of things you'll be doing while building up your base. Horsemen are good up till a certain point. If both of us have a ball of 50 archers versus 50 longbows, horses heavily go down in value, as they pretty much get one shot. So that's why usually you go anywhere from 1 to 6 horsemen, really depending on how many bows and spears he's making. If he has any spears, you can just completely stop with horsemen, because it can be quite hard to be effective against longbows with that. And because longbows outrange archers, that can be a difficult battle to take without committing the rest of your melee force. And he will keep his spears back so that you can't shoot those down. That's why after making several horsemen, you transition to more archery ranges. If he's still doubling down and maybe you're keeping your scout alive and you see that he has additional archery ranges that are even supplementing the production of his main council hall, he will have so many longbows, you're going to go 3 to 4 archery ranges as well. You get your upgrades out from the blacksmith as we are doing, and you make as many archers as you can. But the moment, remember, we don't go castle based on a timing, premeditated. We go castle based on a condition that happens in the game, which is killing enough longbows where we feel he cannot keep up the pressure. So after we feel that pressure has alleviated, we transition to a standard point of the game in the current meta, which is Professional Scouts upgrade. It has just completed. We're going to use our stable now for scout production again, and we're going to bring back deer carcasses using the trick of drop-off that I've taught you in my video that is currently uploaded on my YouTube, which is called 15 AoE 4 tricks that you should know in Age of Empires 4. One of those is how to effectively drop off carcasses in a neat formation that allows villagers to gather from them in a very split fashion so they don't block each other. You've got many different carcass pickup points that are still really close to your town center. We keep up archer production, our economy can pretty much afford it. We are running out of lumber around the Aachen Chapel, which also shows why King of the Hill is a little bit of a weaker map in order to go Aachen Chapel at all. So far in Age of Empires 4 you can still see what map you're playing on before you choose your civilization. And therefore not a lot of people pick Holy Roman on this map. But it is possible you just want to play them no matter what. And I think I will be doing it more as well in order to practice it. And when that happens, I think I may do more Minework Palace. And maybe that's going to be better in the long run. But I'll be showing you that in a second part of the video, how to open Minework Palace. Now that our lumber is running out here, we're going to be transitioning to a different part. We're going to be training a new prelate as well, in order to have a second prelate economy. Not just at our food and the Aachen Chapel and what our gold, but also a new one that's going to be sponsoring the wood mining economy. As you can see, our food and gold is racking up nicely. We're after the 12-minute mark. It is perfectly possible to still go castle at 9 minutes if you see that they are making a second town center. You don't want to go mass horseman archer and harass them if they're not attacking you. We're seeing the Holy Roman versus English matchup very much as follows. Holy Roman has the better baseline economy because of inspiration and greater carrying capacity on villagers. So we're always going to be taking aggression seriously, but we're never going to be wanting to, almost never going to be wanting to, as I put like 8 villages on Regnitz here, we're almost never going to be wanting to make units when he has a defensive setup. Also because of the network of castles upgrade. So now that we are going to Regnitz, we're going to be wanting to train more prelates from our town center, as much as possible, as much as we think about it. And I do think I'm forgetting it now for a second. And then we'll try to have prelates ready on various relic locations to pick it up as we reach Castle Age. As the call out of Castle Age being reached is often a sign for people to start guarding the relics. So you already want to be there ideally. Because we still have a healthy wood economy, we can keep making archers, and we have been for a large part with 1-1 upgrades. We can also start making barracks now, so that we can start making men-at-arms. And eventually we'll be transitioning to a bigger army of men-at-arms, mangonels possibly, if we are up against crossbows. If we're up against springalds and mangonels, we make our own springalds. If there's trebuchets, we go springalds or just mass men-at-arms. And eventually, if we reach Imperial, we're going to be wanting to make bombards. New Age has begun. We're accompanying the prelates most at risk with some army, sending half of our archers up and half of our archers down. During the making of this build, we have been remiss at scouting the bottom side of the map, and we only know the location of 3 relics. But I know there's going to be one in the south, pretty much. There has to be one there, since we scouted most other parts. So I'm sending a prelate there soon, together with some army. We have gotten the hunting techniques upgrade. This one should only be gotten if you can at least get 2 full deer camps. If you're just gathering professional scouts 1 deer camp, you don't really need to get that upgrade. But it greatly enhances your food gathering income if you can get many deer camps. And it depends on the kind of civ you're against. Typically, English will let you get 3 out of the 4 deer camp if the game gets to that point, and that's usually the key. We now have a bunch of barracks, we've made archers. Soon, we'll be looking to transition into crossbows if we're against knights or if we're against men-at-arms. And also because crossbows will be perfectly aligned with the amount of resources that Holy Roman easily can get by. Crossbow production taxes food and gold, and we'll be having lots of gold thanks to the relics if everything goes well. Whereas archers don't do well into men-at-arms and knights, and they cost a lot of wood, which actually suppresses our ability to transition to other buildings, stables, barracks, archery range, or siege workshop, because those all cost wood as well. And wood is a tough resource to get by sometimes. You can never have enough of it, as it pretty much offers you the key to everything, including farmland, unit producing, structure, expansion, and so on. We now have 2 relics. We're going to send this prelate to the wood line here, and we're going to keep putting lumber camps in front. A lumber camp in front of another lumber camp, when there's space, pretty much pays for itself within the minute when you have anything more than 5 villagers there. The more so if you've got any lumber gathering upgrades, and especially if you've got a prelate there as well. In short, unless you've got under 5 villagers, and you're Holy Roman and you have inspiration, always make another lumber camp in front of another one once you have space. I had many men-at-arms in production, but I cancelled them to show we can go to Imperial at 16 minutes. The quickest Imperial people can generally start Imperial by with Palace of Swabia is like 11 minutes. You probably can go a little earlier than 11, but you'll pretty much have nothing, no units almost. And it's clear that in this game I've gone veteran archer, multiple upgrades. I'm trying to stay safe, stay at good pacing and good footing with my opponent, and I'm showing a kind of natural progression after having many battles. It's also time to start making more archery ranges. A crossbow men-at-arm army, quite strong. I'm going to make 4 of each. Swabia is on the way. It's also a good time to start making new prelates from our main town center, as soon we'll be able to make villagers at a much greater rate and cheaper from the Swabia. So if now we start making prelates, we can have inspiration ready for the villagers when they start gathering wherever they are going to be starting to gather. So we're starting the crossbow production now. We're starting the men-at-arms production. Lots of units coming. 3rd relic is coming home. The trinity of Holy Roman landmarks is finished. Regnitz, Aachen, and Swabia. And that's pretty much where Holy Roman is the strongest civilization in the game. Which is why it's so important to make yourself strong for early aggression from whichever civ you are facing. I expect against Rus the game could look very similar, where you also need archers to deal with their scouts. You may want horsemen to chase their scouts that are doing professional scout deer pickups. And you want to go with archers into a slower castle age and maybe setting up outposts at like 2 relics so that you can try to get 2 out of the 5 relics. Rus gets their warrior monks earlier than you, and they're faster. Therefore it's hard to get 3 relics. But it's still worth it to make an army so that you can have plenty of archers out to physically protect the relics, rather than doing any shenanigans with stone wall surrounds or wooden wall surrounds. Those tend to kind of fall flat on their face, as they'll just have a big horse archer ball that can contest whatever walling you're trying to do, and they'll take down your prelates on the way. So you need to show up with force as well. Imperial has been reached. We're getting 3 relic income, and still we want more villagers on gold, with some prelates there for inspiration so that we can afford some of those expensive upgrades. Elite men-at-arms, double siege workshop, pumping bombards, crossbows, elite crossbowmen, and eventually a university for melee health and damage upgrade, incendiary arrows, and gunpowder upgrade. In that order, those 3. In terms of the blacksmith, if you're going 8 barracks men-at-arms and practically no ranged anymore, focus on ranged armor upgrade first, then melee attack, then melee armor, and no ranged attack. But if you're going a hybrid army, like in the game that I'm doing here, ranged attack first, then ranged armor, then melee attack, and then melee armor. Generally, the way that I just said that, the last thing I said, is the best order to do upgrades when it goes by the value that they have. But of course, that's only true if you've got units in that category. University is coming out now. Our food is going up nicely. We have non-stop production from our Swabia. Now keep in mind that in this game, because I'm against AI, I'm not showing any scouting of my opponent's base, and I'm not showing any aggression. But I am personally capable of doing a base roughly like this, and also having multitasking of battle, defense, micro, scouting, attacks, going for the kill, and skipping any other part of this build if I feel I can go for the kill. But I'm showing you mostly my base, as that's a challenging part for many people that can be trained against AI. Once you know roughly where you want to be headed in a general game plan, you'll also know why it is worth it to skip some parts of that game plan and go for the kill. Generally, it should be preferred to win the game earlier rather than later, if you can. And that needs experience to know when you can. You can also have days where you play aggressive the whole day in order to try and also always go for a castle age timing attack. And you can have so much fun with the game trying to play the game in different ways. But in this game, I'm showing you, because it's been asked before, how to go to Imperial Age, as usually I stop my build orders before we reach that point. A small note on economy upgrades. I would say for every 20 villagers you have on a resource, it's worth to have an upgrade in that category. So if we've got 20 on food, all on farms, it's worth to get the food gathering upgrade, horticulture. And if we've got 20 villagers on wood, it's worth to get the broad axis that gives us greater gathering rate of wood. But if we've got 8 in a resource or 12, typically it's not worth slowing down castle, imperial or feudal with an economy upgrade of that category. Right now we've got 19 on gold, so it might be worth it to get a gold gathering upgrade. But it might also be worth it not to do it. It really depends if there's something else currently requiring your upgrades. And if that's a unit upgrade and you have a decent amount of units in that category, that can be better. So try to kind of see if you're slowing yourself down unintentionally with a litany of economy upgrades. The first level of economy upgrade is relatively cheap and should be done when you have about 20 villagers in that category. But the second and third are almost never worth it, though you will see me get them because I'm a sucker for upgrades and because I feel like the game has slowed down enough where no one will be killing each other anytime soon and it can be advantageous. But the third upgrade, that one really should almost always be avoided like the plague, unless you know you're in like a 1-hour game and both of you are just like there's lots of resources and there's like a gridlock and there's stone walls and there's keeps everywhere and you can't break through and so on and so on. But typically you will see that one upgrade is kind of worth it, and after that you should also worry about how to hurt your opponent's economy rather than just living in a microcosm of your own improvement of upgrades. Forestry upgrade itself has been explained to be about effective of making your wood gathering 1% more effective. So even though it only costs 75 resources, it's going to take you like 20 minutes to earn it back. And again, if that slows down you in any other way, it may not be worth it. Alright, this is how an attack and kill move might be looking like. It can come now, it can come earlier, it can be with bombards, it can be without. But you're going to have a mixture of men-at-arms, crossbow archers and bombards. This is a classic army. If your opponent has mangonels, it's worth getting range springald upgrade and springalds. You can also kill mangonels with bombards. It kind of depends on which age you're in. You're going to want to use C formation to split and make your archers and crossbows more safe and take down the mangonel before hard engaging. I haven't gathered any stone in this game yet, and it is possible to do so. These are going to be judgment calls where you will do that and you'll deviate from the build order. There are many deviations possible, but I wanted to show you one possible playthrough of the build so that you can kind of see what an ideal late game army could potentially look like. Hope you enjoyed this playthrough, and now I'm going to show you how to open with Minework Palace in the second part of this video. Okay guys, sometimes the map pool does you dirty and the random map generation gets you something like this. This is a King of the Hill random map seed and you could have a game like this. As you can see, gold and wood are split far away from each other. And you'll see many top players even now still going for an Aachen Chapel. I believe this to be wrong. I think when gold and wood are split, you should be going for a Minework Palace. You'll be needing to make 1 or 2 more prelates in order to get similar coverage of inspiration, which costs you gold and population, but you'll be saving 150 wood on a blacksmith, you get the Minework Palace, and you'll be saving about 40 resources per upgrade that you're getting of the first tier of upgrades, and that can earn itself back fairly easily. You'll also be less pressed to keep all your gathering in the same place. Particularly when playing against aggressive civilizations like the English that like to get pick-offs on your villagers with longbows, you can now use this wood here that's in the back without any remorse, as you won't be tied to the lumber that is right in front of you. So, this is my Minework Palace opener. I've recently had an opportunity to play some Minework against several of the higher ranked players. I've really liked it, and I think it's going to be very possibly a new meta. Just like in the first playthrough, we'll be going to find the sheep and scouting the terrain of the flanks towards ourselves, so that we can know where to make wooden palisade walls, where we can funnel the enemy aggression into a singular outpost for our vision, preparation, and firing back, and how we can defend these longbows. The opening is the same. 5 on food, 1 on wood. Next 4 to gold, sending the prelate to gold once he's done inspiring the food villagers. And there he goes. The scout is finishing his scouting of the immediate area, finding the final sheep that are there, and then bringing them back to the town center. This time, it is not a concern to bring our sheep into the radius of a future to be made Aachen Chapel. Instead, we'll be making our sheep aligned to the opposite side of the opponent's base so that longbows can't snipe our villagers as much. In this case, the opponent must be in the west, so we're putting our sheep to the east. After inspiring 4 on gold, prelate comes back to food, inspires it. We're getting to the 2-minute 30 mark. Now it is important to scout the English base and see what's going on. We're also using the Ctrl+F right-click command to kill many different sheep at the same time. And you can find out more about that in my 15 tips and tricks video for Age of Empires 4. 15 things you should know. It just uploaded on my YouTube as well. 250, 245 is when we have the resources to go feudal. We're doing so with about 4 villagers, but I still want to be gathering a little bit of gold. So I'll soon be doing a small reprioritization of my villagers in order to have 4 on the Minework Palace and get to a feudal at a nice timing. After the 5-1-4 split, every next villager went to wood, and occasionally we'll send our prelate there for inspiration buffs. Right now we have 2 on Minework, and soon we are going to be having more as we're rallying villagers there. The Minework Palace villagers, I wasn't sure what to do with them at first, so I changed my mind several times on where they're going to go for. You can see that here. It's like, hey, you guys bring back your gold and restart working again. These are little minute things where I'm trying to min-max my understanding of where they can go. And I also think it is possible to play the game in a way where you're thinking about what to do with your vills and you don't have a one fixed way to do it each time. After all, maps are random in Age of Empires 4. So you can't do everything 100% the same way each time. It's just most important that you catch the general gist of things, that you know the general concept, some of the timings. And some of those timings are as follows. 245, landmark starts with a nice lumber start. Unlike some of the builds I showed before for Holy Roman, where we can start Aachen Chapel at 225, we're a little slower but with a greater wood economy. And, generally, the benchmark that I now remember is that at 430, roughly, feudal will finish. That means we can start the stable and the range there. In this playthrough, I have even more wood than in some other playthroughs. And so I can make a stable and a range immediately. But it's also because I didn't start the palisades yet. Remember in the first part I said I started my palisades at 340. Now it's 440. This is technically too late, but you can imagine as if I started the walls on time, so that I can say, okay, he's not coming in via the north side. Maybe east or south, but not north. And that helps me to think of where maybe a theoretical outpost might want to be going towards, where I'll be sending my army to defend, and so on and so forth. We're starting ranged armor immediately. This is how the minework opening already deviates from the Aachen Chapel opening. We're a little high on food right now, which means we could have had one more villager on wood. It's small little things, but as you see it, just adjust. Don't get caught in a trap of perfectionism where you just GG out because you've got a bit too much food. Accept whatever mistakes, adjust them as soon as you see it. And this mindset actually helped me a lot and helped me climb from rank 100 to rank 50 as well. Minework Palace armor upgrade is coming in. I'm starting horseman upgrade and archers. And at this point, I'm seeing longbows rally towards me. Which areas of my base are vulnerable? Both my wood and my gold right now. But outpost defending or wall defending everything is untenable. As such, we rely on units. And this is a large difference of how I used to play Holy Roman and how I'm playing it now. You want to make sure all those villagers building walls are safe and home, because you don't want to lose any villagers to longbow harass. I have enough gold for now. I'm starting ranged attack upgrade. I'm pulling villagers away from gold, and I'm starting a second lumber camp outpost situation. I'm not tied to a single Aachen Chapel location, so I can diversify my wood income early from different sources, so that if I get information that he's harassing me somewhere, I can pull my villagers from one spot and go to the other. Making sure the prelate is always in their location with the most amount of wood villagers in order to inspire them, as he can cover about 9 villagers at the same time. Horses and archers coming out. Feel free to stop making horsemen again if you see that he's making spears. We could make an outpost here to kind of cover the left side of our town center, or we could cancel it and make it instead on the gold, as you can see right here, so that we can cover the bottom right of our town center. Really depends on where the aggression is going to, what we're trying to defend. If we make the outpost in the bottom of the gold, like I show, we can pull all villagers and send them to the right side and start gathering more wood there. Look at our economy, 716. That's roughly how the English economy is looking like right now as well for non-stop longbow production. But all of us are gathering with 40% bonus if there's a prelate there. So that means that we're actually gaining more amount of food and wood than they are. Keep that in mind, because this gives us the freedom to overreact to aggression so that we can crush it and then earn our way to castle. We're starting a mill so that we can start thinking about life after horseman production and after archery production. We can start making scouts again, get the professional scouts upgrade, and basically resume our normal game plan, but always with a different cadence, because every game is a little different. I'm showing you some hypothetical walls now that can help funnel aggression into your town center. This one. It doesn't have to be a full wall. It can be a full wall like this, but it can be a side wall as well that brings everything to a single point and makes single outposts more effective. Of course, they can choose to try and ram through the side of your wall, but you'll have an advance warning and it's helpful. If you've got a wood bank, you can start making farms, as I'm showing here. And that's pretty much it. That is the minework opening. Much of the rest of it is going to be the same as the Aachen Chapel opening. And I hope that you've got a good solid starting and a better understanding of how to deal with English longbows and how to adapt to the situation. GOHF. Well guys, that was part 2 of my Holy Roman Empire Ultimate Build Order Guide. I hope you enjoyed this playthrough. You can use the Minework Palace opener when your wood and gold are not aligned together, and I really believe we'll be seeing more of it. It gives you a quicker upgrade path and you'll be more feudally aggressive and defensive. You can use the Aachen Chapel opener as it has a greater benefit, temporarily amplifying your prelate's voice to be heard by more and having a greater radius of inspiration. It's a little bit more economical and it's suitable for a fast castle. But when you're against the English, you may find that it's better to have that Minework Palace even when gold and wood are aligned together.